think one of the hardest things that keeps us separated from God and actually knowing God and actually being able to hear Him is our lack of ability to surrender. Because surrender is such a hard concept to grasp, because nobody wants to surrender. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to put themselves last. Nobody wants to, like Jesus says, deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me. Nobody wants to do that, because that means denying yourself. And who wants to do that? Nobody wants to do that. We're all selfish people. That is such a hard thing to understand. Why on earth do we want to forget about ourselves from thinking about this person we've never seen? We don't even know for real he's there. But nobody knows. We just feel it in our heart. We know if we follow Jesus, we know he's real, but we've not seen him. We don't know any of that stuff. So it's such a hard concept to actually surrender that, because there's so much up for interpretation and in the air that it's hard to think of that. Why would you surrender to somebody else? Why would you surrender to this entity that may or may not be there? Which believers, he's there. But a lot of people that don't believe, they don't know if he's there. But they're coming as a new believer or someone that's been through some stuff in their life and everything. That's such a hard thing to do, is because you don't know if he's really there. Is he? And if you don't have that conviction in you to feel and know that he's really there, you're not going to do that. Surrender is not anything that anybody's ever going to want to do, because it's crazy. We live in 2026 in a world that it is not built for anything that has anything that puts us in any point of submission to anybody or anything, because we are all selfish, prideful people, and that's something that we are not going to do. And I was reading earlier when I was going over surrender, and I think the first time, it talks about surrender in the Bible is Abraham. And this is a long one, but I'm going to read it. It's the first time ever. I think it's the first time. I might be wrong. It says, Genesis 21:22. Sometime later, God tested Abraham and said to him, "Abraham, I am here," he replied. And God said, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah." I can't, these big words. I'm sorry. "Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on the mountain I will show you." Early that next morning, Abraham got up and loaded up his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offerings, he set out to a place and God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw a place in the distance. He said to his servant, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship and we will come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried it to the fire with a knife. As the 2 of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said, "Father, Abraham, Father." "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "The fire and the wood are here," Isaac said, "but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb, the burnt offering to my son." And the 2 of them went on together. When they reached the place God had told them about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took out the knife to slay his own son. But the angel of the Lord came and called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham, I am here," he replied. "Do not lay a hand on this boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld me from your son, your only son." Abraham looked up, and there in the thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called the place, "The Lord will provide," and to this day it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." I don't think not one of us these days would take our own kid, our own son, our only son, and go lay it on somewhere to sacrifice to anything. That's not the kind of faith we have. That's not the kind of surrender we have. That's not in us. We can't do that. And to think this man, way back in the day, this man was able to believe in God so much he knew he was there. He surrendered his own life. He was about to surrender his own son. Everything that meant everything to him in his whole world, he was about to surrender it because God was there. He told him to, and he trusted him. And that's a huge deal. That's just sacrifice your own son. How can you that takes so much faith, so much just conviction and knowing God is real and that he's going to be on the other side to figure out what it is that you just did and make it right. That's a very powerful testament to what surrender should be. But we don't do that kind of stuff. We are not built to do that kind of stuff. And God knows that. This Abraham was a very special man, and he speaks about that in the Bible so much, how special Abraham was. He had that faith, he had that conviction, he could do these things, but we are not built like him, like at all. We can't do the things that he did. There's just it doesn't happen. I don't think there's not many of us on this earth that could ever do that. And Matthew 16:25 says, for whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Matthew 16:26 says, for what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man be given in return for his soul? He's talking about surrender. What you worry about in this life is what you're going to get. What you refuse to let go of is what you're going to get. How you hold on to all the stuff that isn't important and surrender it all to Jesus, that's what you're going to get. That's all you're going to get. It's going to repeat merry-go-round of all the stuff that's going on in your life and everything you want to hold on to and all the stuff you need to surrender. That is what you're going to keep on getting, because it's not going to get any better, because you did not surrender that stuff to God. You did not lay it at his feet, and you're not actually trying to be a new creation in him, to want to do better and be better and believe in him that everything's going to be all right. And that takes massive surrender. And that's, people can't do that. It's almost foreign. It's like a foreign word, surrender. Who wants to do that? Nobody wants to do that. But I also think that's why people can't hear God. Without that absolute blind submission and giving up yourself, I don't think you could truly ever hear God. I don't think you could ever understand the Bible. I don't think you could ever hear him talk to you. I don't think you could see him. I don't think you could understand anything in this world unless you actually give it up and surrender, because it doesn't happen. It doesn't. I could tell you from when I was whatever I was, trying to pretend fake Christian, all that stuff. I hate that word. Fake faith person. Before, thinking I was doing all the right things, thinking I was doing all this stuff right, thinking I knew it all and all this stuff, and I didn't know shit, and I didn't know anything, and I had this boastful arrogance about me. I didn't hear God. I didn't understand God. I thought I did. I wanted to think I did. I didn't. Not one bit so ever. I just played the part. And it took me so freaking long, over 3/4 of my lifetime, to realize it's because you didn't surrender. You didn't give up. You were just playing. You did not lay it down. You did not start over, say, proclaim Jesus is real, Jesus is God, and give up. Literally give up. That's what it is, giving up. You give up on yourself. You give up on your life. You give up on all this crap that's in your head and everything. You give up on everything that's everybody and everything and whatever has hurt you, done all this stuff. You give it up and you surrender. Like, this is not the life I want to live. This is not who I'm going to be. This is not what I want to be. This is not what my kids to be. This is not the life I want to be. And one day, so hopefully, when I get to the pearly gates and everything, and he's there with the book and everything, he's like, guess what? You finally got it. You know, it took you 38 years, but the light bulb finally went off, and you're like, you finally got it. Jesus didn't have a timeline of when you're supposed to do these things, or he says, or he has a timeline because he knows, but he's not saying, hey, guess what? You're born, you got to do this. You're 15, you got to do this. Oh, you're 35. Guess what? By 35, you got to do this. We are supposed to come to God within our own court at our own time, and he knows when that time is. And he also knows what's going to lead us there. And whatever led us there was for a reason. And once you get to that surrender has to be one of the first things you do. Just let all that stuff go. All that stuff that's in your head, everything, let it go. Start over. Proclaim God. And it's like, you hear things in such a different way that I could never explain or put into words. Ever. And I know a lot of people that actually had that aha moment and actually come to God and surrendered everything. That you know what I'm talking about. But until you actually get to that point where you are just, it's like a curtain's pulled. It's like everything was absolute blasphemy and falsehood and everything before. You couldn't understand it. You had no idea. You can be reading this Bible 50,011 times. It doesn't matter. You don't get it. You're like, what? It doesn't make any sense. But as soon as you actually freaking put God first and put him in your heart and your life and you surrender, it's like the whole Bible comes alive. It's like everything's, you finally get it and you feel it and you see it all around you. And it's an amazing thing to experience. And I hope everybody can. I really, really hope everybody can, because you have no idea what you're missing in life until you actually get there and you can see. That's the word. You could see. You see things. You just know. It's like God himself's coming down here and reading this to you. Except for Revelation. Do you want me to start on that? Because I don't know. But it's a totally different world, and your eyes are open, completely open. And I highly suggest surrender